Hello! In this video, I'll be discussing the photos for the book cover for my forthcoming book, A Guide to Port Stephens and Surrounds. It will be launched on Amazon on the 21st of November. It has 500 photos and it will be published as an ebook. So this video is my discussion of the thinking behind some of the photos I wanted for my book cover. I had a short list of photos and ultimately I had to choose one photo, and you can let me know if you liked that chosen photo or not. So for the pre-order, I had this photo on the cover. This is a photo of the southern end of Shoal Bay. This was taken from Stephens Peak. It's got a view of Wreck Beach and Fingal Spit and Fly Roads and Fingal Island here. And this white dot here that you see is Fingal Lighthouse. So from Stephens Peak, you do have 360-degree views of the southern, the northern, and the western side where the suburb of Shoal Bay is. So I didn't mind this photo. Climbing up Stephens Peak is for the very healthy and very hardy and physically fit people. So there's hardly anyone there as a result, unlike Tomaree Lookout. It's the locals' hill, so the entrance can be a bit difficult. But once you climb up the hill, there's a nice winding track, and usually you'll be the only one on top of that hill. So I thought I'd have this one as the cover photo in the interim while I was writing my book, just because hardly anyone goes up to that hill, and people who may be familiar with Port Stephens may not know that there is a track up to Stephens Peak and these views that they can see. So moving on, this made the shortlist of the book cover photo. And I kind of, am still wondering whether I should have made this as the photo for the book cover, just because I did have this up as the pre-order cover, I think, for at least a week or so while I was writing my book. And this is probably the iconic image of Shoal Bay. You've got Tomaree Head down here, and then you've got Yakaba Head on this side. They form the entrance, what I call the sentinels to the entrance of Port Stephens and Shoal Bay. This was taken during the winter shoulder season because during summer there are so many boats and jet skis and kayakers and paddlers on the water, and the beach is full. But the time of the year I took this photo was a peaceful one, and as you can see, the beach is empty and the bench is empty, but it is a public bench. And when I was looking at my photos to add to my book, I noticed how many benches I actually took off, because it was almost a reminder, oh, okay, well, this is a nice public bench that you can have a picnic if you're ever there. And that reminded me a bit of Meghan Markle's The Bench book, where she discusses and talks about how different benches mean different things to different people, obviously because something's going on with their lives or the different lifestyles they have. And in the same way, I thought the local council has got it right around Port Stephens, in the sense that they've got all these public benches available for anyone to sit and contemplate and feel relaxed after watching the waves or the water. There are so many of these benches at, say, Dutchess Beach, at Berrubi Beach, at the western end, at Salamander Bay, at the northern end, at Pindama. So all of these public benches, they I think are really great asset for the area because anyone can go there. Sure, beach shacks are being demolished for big McMansions, but the beach is the Great Australian Equalizer. Anyone can still go to the beach free and unencumbered. You don't have to pay to go to the beach like other places in Europe too, where they segregate parts of the beach. So, this public bench, I thought, you can kind of project your own image of yourself overlooking this great beach at Port Stephens. The only downside to this photo was I thought it makes things look a bit calm at Shoal Bay, but there's so many activities at Shoal Bay. So ultimately, I decided this could just be a bit too serene. But I have included this photo in the Shoal Bay book. There are also barbecue facilities at Shoal Bay Beach, the park behind it. So in terms of the beaches at Port Stephens, they are well catered for the public. And that was my intent in this photo, that, hey, you can go to this beach, and if this beach is free or empty, you can just sit here and watch the world go by. This photo I personally like. Over the past year, while I've been writing my book, I've been frequenting Box Beach, which is basically the surfers' beach, the boardwalkers' beach here at the bodyboarders' beach here at Port Stephens, or specifically Shoal Bay. And at the northern end of Box Beach, it does get pretty busy. You've got the surfers, the bodyboarders, and the waves and the swells are so loud. But when you go to the southern end of the beach, it's so quiet. It's such a great contrast to the northern end. You walk through here, you've got the white sands, the clear white, the clear waters of fly roads here, and it's just a beautiful spot. This canyon-like does tend to echo your footsteps or the noise that you make on the sand, because when you do walk on this type of sand, it does squeak, and that shows how pretty and clean the sand is. And you have these waters around here which just reflects the magnificent light there. And there are the rocks where I've seen a lot of snorkelers hang around. During what they call the mullet season, schools of mullet come around Fingal Bay. And Fly Roads here, that strip of sand, northern end of Fingal Bay Beach, you will see their four-wheel drives, their utes with racks just waiting for the fish as they make their mullet run. Of course, when you have schools of mullet coming into this part of the bay, it also attracts the sharks. So if you're going to be snorkeling around here, have some precautions with you. I once saw a snorkeler come out of the water with his big spear, and I asked him if he was lucky, did he catch any fish, and he said no. This spear is for the fish with teeth. So just be mindful. The water is rather attractive, but the apex predators are around here as well. Also, during the building of the Tomaree Coastal Walk, there were discussions and there were plans. And I think at one stage they wanted the walk to come through here, through this narrow passage, go around the rocks, and that you'd end up at Fingal Bay. I think that was shelved just because of the financial constraints. We had COVID, we had storms, and in the end, I think the National Parks decided we'll just, use the existing parts. So we could save a bit as well. Because you can imagine hundreds of people, if they do the walk in peak season, going through this passageway, and I suppose that will change a bit of the excuse me, a bit of the ambience of the place. But this made my shortlist just because personally I do like this spot at Box Beach. So, what did I eventually choose? It was this photo. So this was taken from Quarry Hill in the afternoon. You can see Wreck Beach. You can see Stevens Peak, Tomaree Head, Yakaba Head, and Cabbage Tree Island. Quarry Hill is another local hill. I find it easier to walk up Quarry Hill than it is up to Stevens Peak, and the views are absolutely amazing and gorgeous. Again, there are eagles' nests on top of the hills, and I once had a close encounter with an eagle up this hill, and it was just staring at me and watching me and ensuring I wasn't going to its nest. So that natural phenomena is still present at Port Stephens. I'm also reminded of Captain Cook's diary with this photo as he went up exploring the north coast, and he wrote about the peaks, the hills, the islands, and the entrance. And I suppose looking at this image, this would be similar to what he saw more than 200 years ago as well. So I thought, well, I'll have this photo as the cover because it's pretty, but it's also historical, and 200 more than 200 years ago this landscape would not have changed as opposed to going to inside the port. Wreck Beach, as you can see, is empty. If there's more than 20 people at Wreck Beach, that's usually a very busy day. So let me know what you think of this photo. Do you think I made the right decision in having this cover for Port Stephens? If you know Port Stephens, let me know what other places you think I should have chosen as the cover photo.